leaders. They're leading us down the wrong path. And until we make that first major step, everything else don't matter, because we keep putting in place those roadblocks that are going to be continued to use against us. For instance, just what me and Richard talk about this all the time. When I ran for office, one of the things I stood up and told them, I said, look, we need to quit asking for what's ours. We need to go take what's ours. And I don't mean by physical force. You don't have to walk around with a gun on your hand. We can go out and take it. If we go to city council, we should have been doing a lot more than we're doing now. Did you see any of your black leaders out there talking about don't riot? Did you see any of your black leaders out there talking about let's protect these stores? I asked that question, and please give me an answer, anybody.
I can't say I did, but I'm 600 miles away. From a distance, I haven't, Joe.
You know, I mean, it's silence in the room right now.
My point, Rick, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, I think that we actually, you know, and also another thing, we too busy focusing on fighting other people. Well, correction, we're too busy fighting ourselves when we need to be fighting the other people. We too busy killing each other and not giving each other the play. I often ask people, you know, how many black businesses do you support in your community? You know, how many black businesses do you have coming to? Who's your alarm maintenance person? Who's actually doing the roof in your house? I mean, on your house. Who's doing the, you know, my deck needs painting, right? You know, I can get anybody, but I got my neighbor because I know he does decks. That's a black man. And he done a pretty good job. I mean, I'm not gonna say an excellent job, but he's done the job well enough for me to accept and to pay him for the work he's done. You know, so these are the things that we have to start changing. We have to start changing our mindset that black businesses are not worth supporting. We got to change the mindset that, you know, we shouldn't care about our neighbors' children because our neighbors don't care about their own kids. We got to stop actually with that mindset. We got to start coming together. I'll tell people this. I say, you know, I love back in the 70s and 80s, right? When you used to walk down the street and you used to say, what's up, brother? You know, there was a serious meaning behind what's up, brother, because you was in a struggle together and you knew that and you respected each other in that, at that level. You know, nowadays, you know, it ain't what's up, brother, no more. It's always something else now. You know, back then it was what's up, sister. Now you hear them, what's up, beat. We got to learn how to respect ourselves in order for anybody else to respect us.
Yeah. So when you look at, honestly, because we got to break down, we want to talk about the black males, what their role is. We want to talk about these mothers, because I do think the mothers got a critical role to play who might be coddling our black men. So we gonna get into that. I want to first, because I always tell people we can always focus on the negative, but let's give some hope here. So if you guys can give me, what's the 3 good things about the Chicago PD? I'm gonna write this down from each of you. Give me 3 things that's good about y'all former employer. We know the bad. What's 3 good things?
I'd like to start this one off. For one, Chicago Police Department has some good officers. Believe that, okay? People can believe that, you know, and not believe it. But Chicago Police Department has some good officers. They got really more good officers than they got bad officers. The Chicago Police Department is a good place to actually, where they has excellent benefits where you can raise your family. Okay, so you know it's got good people in it. It's got, you know, good benefits, and also the Chicago Police Department, you know, it has great potential when it's led the right way.
Okay, now just on that last one, has it ever been led with the right way in your estimation?
You know what? I have never seen the police department the way it is today in my 23-year career. And the reason I say that is because the police department has gotten too politically connected. It can't make the decisions that it needs to make anymore. It can't work in the communities the way they used to work in the communities, because everything now is politics. And politics is driving how the department is actually working within our communities.
Okay. What about you, Joseph?
Well, 3 good things. I will tell you that having been a detective, I think we probably have one of the best detective divisions around. now that I work there, but I trained some. I would also say that we have, particularly a young lady I got to give a class to, her name is Dahlia Gorey, works out of Second District. This girl busts her behind. There's a retired officer by the name of Marco Johnson, never got the reward that he should have. He's been running a baseball program in Inglewood. And I have to agree with Richard. The problem is that it's easier to use a broad brush to paint us as opposed to say that there are great officers and good jobs being done out here. But in the time of Floyd and Aubrey and everyone else, Valenda Castile, we're taking hits. Mm-hmm. And as I used to tell people when I was teaching, Chicago's in a unique position. If something happens in New York, Chicago reverberates from it. If something happens in LA, Chicago reverberates from it. So we're the epicenter no matter what happens. Chicago is the epicenter for what should or what's always looked at as police reform or could be. That's because we are the third largest, depends on who you talk to, second largest police department in the country.
Yeah. So I wrote down best detective division. I want to ask a follow-up on that. The second one, you said there are good cops. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, there's plenty of good policemen, plenty of good detectives.
What was the third one there, Joseph?
I mentioned a few people. I had to give some praise up to some officers. Marco Johnson, Goree, there's a sergeant in the 5th District Police CAPS office. Here's the other thing. CAPS for us has been an unfunded mandate for the last 10 or 15 years, yet they still purport to use it. But I will tell you that CAPS officers, those officers come out of their pockets. Nobody ever thanks them. Their commanders run off their backs, live off the backs of these men and women, but they're busting their behinds in most cases.
Now, Joseph, two things on that. I got the CAPS, but the first one, when you say the best detective division, give us what that looks like. So what is a worst detective division? Are they framing people? Is that what a worst looks like? Like, what's the difference between how you classify best versus something else since you've been on the inside?
I'll tell you this. Do we have, like anything else, do we have bad detectives? Without a doubt. However, again, because of being where we are, we catch the crux of New York's bad and LA's bad. So we modify quicker than anyone else. When they first came up with the 48-hour rule, we were one of the first major cities to implement it. There was a whole lot of discussion about it, but it was done. There's a lot of things that are happening within the detective division here that people don't even know about. 72-hour holds are gone. The way we used to do lineups is gone. The way we interview people has changed, completely changed within the last 20 years. So are there good things? Certainly. Is it a result of actions that had to come about? Without a doubt. What you see happening in the police department is a paradigm shift. And I'll give you a prime example. When I came on the job in '82, we used revolvers. Now, today, they can't use revolvers. They have to use automatics. And that's in the last 30 years. Now they've gone from not just an automatic, but a particular automatic. So again, it's a paradigm shift.
Now, would you say this though? First of all, what is a 48-hour rule? 72-hour holding. You mean to tell me we don't hold people no longer? Like, educate us real quick on that. 48-hour. What is that?
If you were for a that person, but when you walk them into the station, they have 48 hours within which they have to be charged or brought before a judge. It used to be 72 hours. And it actually, when it comes down to it, is actually 40 hours. So when you walk in, there's a button where you put them on a recording system, and it goes from there.
And you say that's a bad thing, or?
No. It's a good thing. Also, also know this, that in the city of Chicago, we just can't bring in witnesses. If the person says, yeah, I witnessed a murder, and they refuse to talk to you, you can't bring them in. So depends on where you are. It's a good thing because you're not violating their rights.
Now, so Richard, every police chief,
Uh-oh.
every police chief says the problem in Chicago is guys are getting let out of jail and they're not serving their full time. Are any merit to that?
You know what? Yes, we do have a large turnaround of repeat offenders. But understand, the repeat offenders are not, the ones that's committing all this crime out here. Yeah, they're responsible for some crime. But we are dealing with people who are kind of like being lost in the shuffle of time, okay? And what I mean by that is that you have kids out here who was raising kids who have not had the opportunity to be a parent to these kids. Now these kids are out here all buck wild and everything. When they locked up Jeff Ford and all the heads back in the days, right? They literally, just left the streets up for grab. So you begin to actually start seeing all of these here, smaller factions coming up and about, where everyone wanted to be the one that was in charge. So now, mind you, someone could be locked up who's been committing, who's been terrorizing their community. When he's locked up, guess what? Somebody else is taking his place. So it's not necessarily just, the releasing of the people. I think it is, more so how the laws are written, especially when we actually dealing with our juveniles. People use our juveniles, okay, to actually commit more crimes because they know the laws are less strict on these juveniles. So these juveniles was actually working off of what they call a point system. So you can burglarize somebody's house and your parent come and get you. You can get out here and beat somebody down and your parent can come and get you. So, it was a system. The kid get caught with drugs, guess what? Parents come and get them. Until they reach those number of points, they never actually went back to the juvenile. So what happened, children and women were always used as the scapegoats for the actual individuals committing a lot of these crimes. Right. So those are some of the things that we had to actually make some adjustments on. So yeah, we do get issues with people who's been released, okay, repeating these crimes. But understand, why are these people committing these crimes over and over again? It's because of a lack of resources in the communities that they just don't have access to. So therefore, if a person is there, if they need to feed their family and they can't get a job, what are they going to do? They're going to do, and using the words of Malcolm X, by any means necessary. So that's what we see. So when you have a community that has a lack of resources, those individuals know their families still have to eat, okay? And they're going to do what they got to do in order to feed their families.
Now here's the that's a great point, Richard. Back when I was coming out, I was born in '75 and we grew up in Cabrini Green, and I couldn't understand why every night like clockwork, my father then was one street tribe, my uncle then was one street tribe. Every night like clockwork, they come in the middle building and shoot at each other. Mm-hmm. And I heard about the Ku Klux Klan, but this was black, all black. I ain't see. The white people would run down Division Street. They'll be jogging down Division, and nobody sniped them. Nobody shot them. I said, "Mama, what's up? Like, what's up?" And that's when I pledged I wanted to grow up and do something about it because I just couldn't understand it. But here's the thing, though, when you look at what we're doing to each other, though, how, I guess the point is you can do prevention, we can do resources, and we can do enforcement. Like that's a balanced approach. It sounds like, Richard, you're on the resource side because you recognize like what else they to do. Joseph, am I correct? You're on the enforcement side, like no excuse type thing. And I think it's a mixture of all three. What do y'all think about that?
No, I'm not necessarily on enforcement side. I'm in complete agreement with Richard. But at some point, yes, there has to be an enforcement. All societies have rules. I mean, no matter where you go. Mm-hmm. Do I believe that enforcement takes a higher priority than resources? No, not at all.
Okay.
Because for us, I mean, for Black folks, we have to look at this from a holistic point of view. This is not a one shoe fits all kind of deal. I grew up in a big family, and just to correct you, my sister's the oldest, just so you know.
I got you.
But my brother, I had to wear his stuff, so we all have that same experience. The difference is, though, we have the unfortunate luxury of the end result of the crack addiction. We're looking at 2 or 3 generations of addiction that are now coming into. I can tell you this, I've taught on collegiate level, high school, and grammar school. In the Black community, the number of LD, BD, EMH kids, autistic, is just, it's astronomical. Now, at one time, they labeled our kids as retarded. Well, they weren't. It was just a spectrum of autism. Right. So again, the misdiagnosis has led us to such a deep well, because then they started over-medicating our kids with this thing called Ritalin. Now we find out that Ritalin is bad. I mean, so you have to look at this picture from the holistic type of treatment.
So let me name this, and y'all tell me what y'all think. Businesses, elected officials, police, church, households, like all of them working together. Is one more important than the other outside of households? I think we all know it starts at home.
No, you know what? All those things have to function, you know, together. And don't forget to put education in there, because our educators are very key, you know, educators, and also, you know, the medical facility, medical institution. I mean, we need counseling. When you have a shooting in a white school, right? All of a sudden they get counseling. When you have a shooting in a Black school, you don't hear nothing about counseling. You know, our kids see, you know, tragedy darn near every day. And there's no type of counseling set up in our communities to talk to these here kids. There's no type of counseling sessions set up to talk to these families. So what happens? Our families, you know, even if counseling is actually thrown out there, we think is a bad thing, because like Joe was saying, right, we was brought up that if you get labeled as retarded, right, or if you related as something is wrong with you, you know what? Nobody wants to deal with you. So we got to get beyond that notion and understand that these are services that needs to be brought in so we can talk things out. I love what they done, you know, with the peace circles, you know, because the peace circle gives you the opportunity to actually debate and to talk things through. And until our kids and our communities learn how to talk through their situations, we're going to continue to live like this here. You know, you said your uncle and your dad would actually come in the middle and just start shooting, right? But the white folks run down the street and no problems. Guess what? We still got the Willie Lynch, you know, the slave mentality going on here, where we look at each other as the enemy. And that's far from the truth. You know, you got less than I got. What makes me think that you got, you know what I mean, think anything worse than you?
But what can businesses do, and can y'all break it up? What can Black businesses do? What can non-Black businesses do to help us with safer streets in Chicago?
Joe, you want to deal with that?
Let me add. I think we left. I think there's one thing, that aspect of this whole conversation we left off, and that's food. In most of our communities, we're food deserts. Where I live, it's still a food desert, and I'm supposedly in a middle-class neighborhood. But the other problem is that if you look at how the loan structures for these small SBA loans are given out, they're crushing our people. Because I've seen people in my neighborhood who didn't look like me, who come from somewhere other than here, get those business loans that can open the businesses that we need. And then they take the money and leave. Understand that in white areas, the money circles, I think, 10 times. The money stays in our community once, if that. So to say, what can Black businesses do? Shoot, we got to get some Black businesses. So those leaders, so-called Negro leaders, need to be on the hot button for not bringing those Black businesses into your neighborhood, like a food store, if that makes sense.
You know, Joe.
Definitely. Now, food, I wrote that down.
But when we all talked about Black businesses, right? You know, after all the looting and tearing down all and burning some of these stores down and everything, the question, I was interviewed, I believe it was on WVON and Daryl Denard's show. also. But I remember one of the questions that I posed out, not a question, but one of the things I posed out to people. Now that we've destroyed the things that we were relying on in our community, what are we going to bring into our community? So this is the time where we say, okay, listen, you know, we got this here lady who is Black owned. I mean, she's a baker. She's baking out of her house. You know, let's get her into a bakery over there. I remember back in the days when my mom used to go down to the bakery and get us our sheet cake for our birthday parties. You know, I remember going down to the bakery and, you know, the baker looked just like us, you know, instead of a Dunkin' Donuts or something like that.
But you do.
Huh? Yeah. So, you know, and like Joe said, the grocery stores. I remember the Black-owned grocery store that was right on 79th and Aberdeen, you know. I mean, I remember all these things, but we don't have those things now. But we need to begin to start focusing on rebuilding our community and bringing those things into our community. One of the issues that people say about that I think that we need in our community when it comes down to businesses, we need to take the business resource office from downtown to City Hall and bring it into the community that host, you know, programs and training programs on how to be successful in businesses, and also help them actually go through the process of obtaining a business license and applying for loans and grants and things of that nature, so we can develop business owners in our community. Because right now, you know, people, they get an opportunity to come into a business, right? And they fail because they have no coaching.
And y'all been down to business development office at City.
What was that, Si?
You've been to the City Hall's business development, business affairs floor?
Yeah.
You saw the little kiosk that says the Latino business kiosk?
No, I didn't see that. They got their own little kiosk.
I took a picture, man. I couldn't believe it. I felt like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
I felt excluded. Like, is it for Spanish? Like, I didn't even walk over to it. I just had to take a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. You know, in some instances, I feel sometimes.
Let me wait.
Hmm?
Let me say this, and original this. We take on everybody else's fight, but we always get left at the starting gate. Always. Everybody else's fight becomes ours instead of our fight being ours. Rich is a businessman, Black businessman. Ask him how much help he's gotten. Now, I know this brother, and I know the struggle that he's going through. But for what he does, we have not supported this brother. But I can tell you what, I know other police officers, whites and Hispanics, that have become millionaires doing what Richard's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But because of their familiarity with their politicians, they do what they do, but they stick together too. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to throw you out there, Rich.
Now, what about the non-Black businesses? What do you guys think about the Arab gas stations, the Vietnamese beauty supply stores, nail salons? Do they play a role with this virus? Are the corner store guys giving guns to the guys? Are they sleeping with the young girls?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
bear witness to some of that. What do you guys see as former police?
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, they have
You don't want to have
all of the above, okay? All of the above. And it's evident, you know, because as a police officer, I've actually, you know, had to deal with those things. And, you know, they come in and they want to be as Black as the people that they're serving, you know, so they play the role and they get in good with them. And next thing you know, right, they talking like you talking and then trying to actually do the things that you're doing. Now they calling you the N-word and you call them the N-word back, you know. So they build their relationship, but the money don't stay in the community.
Listen, I shot a video because the Arab guy had his pants sagging where I could see his butt, and he was out there standing like he was gangster, and he out there with everybody else standing, and I just said, look at this. He think he fit in, like he think he belong, and we accepting it. We was there, got a loose cigarette, and it just say, wow, you know. So what do they play a role though? Should they be giving back to the community? Can they help us in any way?
Well, you know, I mean, we first have to understand that all their property belongs to someone. Who the owners decide to rent to is the owner's rights. And a lot of times the owners are renting to those individuals because they got the money to actually rent from them, and they'll pay more than what the owner is actually really looking for. So
Right.
some of these owners are actually really selling out their own community because, you know, for the money. So here we are, you know, coming into a place where individuals who have infiltrated our communities and just taken over. So yeah, you know what, they have a responsibility. Now I've ran into some, you know, to some good ones, okay, that has been very instrumental in helping the community and giving back to the community. And, you know, then I had some that I had to shut down. You know, so I mean, you're gonna have some good apples.
Now
out
wait,
there.
you can't shut them down. Code enforcement has to shut them down, right? Or you was
You
able.
know what? I had a little secret of you know, up under my belt. If you can actually catch them selling loose cigarettes, okay, that's a violation of the tax code, okay? And when you inventory all their cigarettes, they ain't got nothing else to sell because the canned goods are actually collecting all that dust. So guess what they did? They had to shut their doors because they had no more cigarettes because I inventoried them all.
Right.
So you just have to know how to get around it, you know. But guess what happened? That complaint that this community had against that store, it ended at that moment because they refused to open back up because they understood that they just couldn't actually do what they wanted to do there.
Right. Joseph, you want to comment on the non-black owned business, like the nail salons? They've been choking black sisters from South Carolina to Chicago, and sisters still going there. Do they play a role in this violence in Chicago?
Well, I think those are two separate and distinct issues. I think that the question should be raised, how many sisters have applied for grants to open those salons? Then we start going down that rabbit hole. But do they owe the community?
At your phone, it sounded like I didn't hear it.
Both of y'all got bad networks.
I said that.
Yeah, I know it says slow.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm in the mountains, y'all. I'm out here in Georgia in the mountains, so I don't know what's your excuse, Joseph. You in the city, man. Strong network.
Yeah, there might be somebody listening to us.
All right.
but
now let's go to.
I will say this: yes, they owe something.
Let's go to these politicians, man. What can they do? Can they do anything?
You know what? These politicians can do
You first, Rich.
They can do a whole lot if they come together. Right now, they're fighting, you know, issues that is not really a contributing factor to our community. And the question is, okay, now, you know, what are you all fighting for in our communities that we can actually stand behind you on? Better yet, what are you all doing that we can stand behind you on? And every time you turn around, you're not getting the positive, any positive feedback. So sometimes, you know, I mean, you know, we as a community, sometimes we feel like, you know, we're fighting the lost cause in our community with our elected officials. Right now, we see the mayor and the Black Caucus going at it, okay? And it's like, okay, why is she? What is it about the Black Caucus that she's actually, that's causing the friction between the mayor and the Black Caucus, where it appears that we're not getting anything in our communities, you know? And then, you know, they do the blame game. One person blame the other, and it's just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous to the point that you don't get the people engaged and involved in your battles because you feel that your battle can be won with you alone. And I don't recall seeing any Lone Rangers down in city council or in any other political arena, I should say.
I want to hear from Joseph. Now I'm gonna make an allegation against a whole party, man. But go ahead, Joseph.
Go for it. Well, I probably would agree with you, but let me say this. The real problem, I agree with Richard, but I will say this. we keep electing the same old, and you getting the same old response. So, according to Webster's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results is just that. So what happens, at least in my career, and I think you all have seen it too, we keep putting people in, they do the same thing. Look at how many black aldermen have gone to jail. And what have they gone to jail for? As opposed to those other ones who have been indicted and they're still sitting there.
All right,
but
let's do this
you know
first.
What I'm talking about.
So, but let's be fair to our black people. Let's be fair. Number one, it's the senior citizens that keep putting these people in office.
Oh yeah. Well,
the young people are sitting at home being cynical. That's their problem. So you got elders keep repeating the wheel, and the young people not doing nothing. Mm-hmm. Some got to give.
Well, that's not true. Think about this. Now, hold on. The three of us ran for office. The three of us lost. Where did we go wrong at?
I went to Mike Madigan's house because that's where I went wrong at. This guy had Mike Casper. Mike Casper sat there and they did with all my signatures, man. They went and they wanted to tie me up in court because I didn't, I ain't had a bandwidth to be in court every one of these court dates. And they challenged my mama's signature. You think her mama ain't gonna sign for her son? Like, I'm telling you, it's a dirty game that they play.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a dirty game, but you're absolutely right. The seniors are out here voting. The young people, feel that they ain't got no reason to vote because their vote ain't gonna matter anyway. So, but we also got to understand, but on the flip side, those powerful people like you say, Mike Madigan, they got all the treasure chests, they got all the money to support who they want to be in those positions. And they're going to do everything they possibly can to get that individual in there. So when you actually someone who people don't know, guess what? You ain't gonna make it through because our seniors vote for people who they know. And in some instance, right, you got individuals with a family name that lasts the longest, or people who's been in politics for over 30 years, that's the only name they know. And they're gonna vote for who they know.
I'm gonna tell you how crazy it was, because we went on a Sunday before the Bears came on to his house, put the letter under his door. You can't put it in the mailbox. When I got home on 65th in Albany, the detectives came and rung my doorbell talking about something that was totally had nothing to do with, and I believe it was tied right to me going to Madigan's house. They wanted to send a message right back to me. You mm-hmm. come to him, we coming to you. And so mm-hmm. I believe that politician was connected to the police, and that's why I got a visit by the detectives.
Yeah.
Right before the Bears game came on. So.
Did you get to watch the game?
I got to watch the game, but that was like so. We got. Let's talk about our women because we coming close on the time. So, where do the black woman fit in that in terms of with the young guys out here hanging out? Some of them not working. They at home all day playing video games. They don't. They're not trying like the Mexican guys. Let me hear both of you guys' thoughts on the black woman. Are they complicit with what's happening in Chicago?
You know what, our black women, man, I feel for our black women, man, because a lot of times I think our black women look at the black man and see failure and feel that they're the only way. I mean, that they are the only way to get their family through, and it began to become us against them. Now we fight in our homes, when we have to deal with the, fighting on the street. And it's heartbreaking, man, especially when I was on a job. I used to pick up these curfews and you got these women, these mothers raising these here boys by themselves, right? And they doing the best they can to raise them. They working 2 and 3 jobs and they don't have the time to spend with the boys, but the boys is getting in trouble and they out of hand. And the first thing mama say, I can't do nothing with them. A lot of times, women, is just fed up and they just don't know what to do. But then also there are some women, these mother figures who just will protect their kid for even the wrong reasons. And we got to stop that. We got to hold everybody accountable for their responsible for their actions. Because all we're doing is raising kids to continue to do bad behavior.
Who not prepared?
No, not prepared at all. So, and I tell people like this here, Si. I say, you know, when people sit there and talk about these here kids out here, I look at the brother or whoever's making that comment, and I say, it's our fault because we didn't have the time spent with those kids like our parents spent with us. Yeah, our fathers went out there and worked. Yeah, our mother stayed home and did, you know, and raised us. But it was a system in place to ensure that we would actually balance off in life. We have failed our kids because we started doing things that we weren't brought up to do. And now here we are sitting out here looking at our kids, you know, running rap. So,
Joseph, what you think? Because I want to hear it from the music too. But go ahead, Joseph.
I would have to somewhat disagree with that, and I would say that it's a little bit more sinister. And when I say that, I mean this. The fact of the matter is that you see the destruction of the nuclear family idea. When all of us grew up, as you said, your father and uncle were going at it, but you had cousins, you had aunts, you had uncles, grandfathers, whatever else. You don't see that happening anymore. You don't see the community or the neighborhood vibe where you knew everybody, whether it be on your building or your block. You know, there was a time if you stepped on Mr. Smith's grass, you got 2 butt whoopings coming. A from Mr. Smith, B from your C from D from the other. So that has left. So it's not just a issue of the women. This system is in place to do what it's doing, and it's working very well. It's taking out our system, our family system, completely familial system.
Now, what role do the music play? There's a song that says, "I'm a savage. I'm a savage. If I don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you." And literally, I watch people, man, brag about being savage, and then when you shoot that 1-year-old to death, that 7-year-old to death, that's what savages do. Like, that's savage behavior. But you rapping and singing and glorifying being a savage. Then when savage happened, then we saying we need to come together. It don't reconcile to me. Do the music play any role in this?
of course. Man, first of all, who's the major owners of the media and the record labels? Okay, who makes the decisions on what plays and what you know, over the air? Who is the ones that actually make those decisions? It's not us. But guess what? We get a little pocket change and think we made it. Exactly. And the music has a very, you know, what you see and what you hear eventually becomes who you are. And that was one of my sermon I was working on, right? It says, focus not on the seen, but on the unseen. Okay? We look at and deal with what we see versus what we don't see. Because see, if we focus on what we don't see, we'll see that, you know, life can be, and that's an alternative to what we do see. The things that they're giving you out here in broad daylight, right? If the fake jewelry, you know, that you got to rent in order to shoot your video, you know, all the fake house that you're going to be shooting your video in, all that stuff is just camera. But then when you finish shooting the video, right, and you sent this message out to these millions of Black kids, you know, who idolize it, you go back to your apartment with none of the stuff that you just shot the video with, and also in debt. Because now you got to pay everybody for renting their stuff.
So you admit there's a problem. Joseph, what do you say? Is the music a part of our challenge?
I could tell you at least 10 homicide investigations that had a musical component to it. But I will say this to you. We're using, again, based on the familial destruction, those are excuses. The fact of the matter that we might not be, my family was poor, believe it or not. We just didn't know it. But that was no excuse for me to act like you up or rich up. So again, back to a very, very destruction of family. When I grew up, I was listening to jazz. Funk was just coming out. Parliament P-Funk. I mean, come on. That's no excuse for bad behavior. So, no, I don't go with the, have I heard that excuse? Yes, and there are actual cases that I've been involved in where they actually use that exact reason why they did what they did. But no, it's not. It's just called an excuse, period.
Wait. So, and this is what I believe, because I've watched people, and I speak in the schools, and I've never met no one when they were shooting saying, "I love you, I'm there for you," singing anything positive. It's always what they hearing that's playing over in their head. F you, I'm a gangster, I'm tough. You disrespect me. So I do think if you empty-headed, that music can get in there and have you doing some stuff that you probably wouldn't have been
Hold
trying
up, wait a minute, wait.
to be.
But think about this. But see, that goes to my point. If you mix in a subliminal message with narcotics background, what do you get? You get a program.
Right.
So what's happening? It goes back to my original point was just because they call it a conspiracy don't mean it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page at the end of the day. It's all ingredients together.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing, you know.
Yes.
So we got 4 minutes left, 5 minutes left. Did we miss anything in this conversation?
You know, I think one of the things that we should have talked about and is what are we doing or what are we going to do to help, you know, to deal with the violence in our community. You know, and I like to start this one off by saying that my organization, we're doing training programs because we want people to understand you're responsible for the safety in your community. The kids that's out here shooting, they sleep in somebody's bed. They sleep, I mean, they related to somebody, whether they're your nephew, son, cousin, uncle, whoever. Somebody know these individuals. And until we actually come together as a community and start holding people accountable, you know, our community is going to continue to die. So we train people in a safety program in our community. I have an app that I've developed called the Crime Agitator. And that app is an app that is used to actually call for help and also notify others that you are in danger. Okay, that app is actually in the Apple Store and the Google Store. Okay, and
how do they got to get it from there? They can't get it remotely.
Yeah, they can download. They can go to the website www.crimeagitatorapp.com. So that's crimeagitatorapp.com. You can download it, and you know, I got a cousin in Louisiana. He downloaded it. He's a police officer down there, and he was playing with it, and he hit the button, and it sent the signal out that he needed help. And I got the signal up here in Chicago, and I looked at it, and I called him up. I say, "What you doing at the hospital?" He said, "What you mean? Oh, you know, I'm at the hospital." I said, "Well, you just actually pushed your crime agitator button." Wow. So we need to actually start working as a community because we can't just rely on police department statistics. We have to create our own statistics, and this app helps you do that.
I love it. How people reach you, Richard?
Okay, they can give me a call, you know, Gathering Point Community Council, 773-260-0260. Again, that's 773-260-0260. And we're trying to get people engaged, get blocks committed, and to come together and start doing some things in the community.
All right, Joseph, what you got, man? What did we miss, or what's a solution?
Well, I think that going forward, we have to be engaged in this thing called this police reform thing. This whole idea of defunding the police is the dumbest stuff I ever heard. But again, we can't let somebody lead our course. You know, right. You got to understand what does this mean. Who needs this more than anybody else? So if you tell them, yeah, we're going to defund the police, that's like saying, you know, let's get rid of government workers. Let's lower the size of government. Who's the largest employer of Black people in this country? The government.
That's like saying, go with me to cash my check, and you bring some thieves with you. You know what's gonna happen.
Right. You know, so I think we need to look. We definitely have to look at this reform package. I mean, particularly behind Philando Castile, Aubrey murders, because it's understanding that police work started in this United States from slave hunting. So let's understand where it started at and where we can go from there. But if we're not in, if you're not standing guard at the gate, you can't complain about what's going on in the community. So let's start standing guard at our gate. And that's how we get to riches.
So let me say this. Clear Airways Project is run by a brother out of Gary, Indiana, Quabena Pratt. He's family to Geronimo Pratt, original Black Panthers, and they want to clear the airways of this garbage. They got examples on the airways not playing anything offensive to Jewish people, but everything offensive to Black people. So they want to hold the sponsors accountable. It's a petition. People can go in there and sign the petition. So that's a solution there. Then on the community side, every Wednesday, we ask people to not spend money with other groups that don't care about us, businesses, and to go and find a Black-owned business and spend money with. If people do that, then at the end of each month, you should be able to name at least 4 Black businesses you circulated money with, and that's personal accountability. So if you can't name 4, Chinatown, Greektown, Little Italy, they can name 20. If you can't name 4 in the 30-day period, that says a lot about you. So you got some work to do. So that's the solution. And then, of course, everyone on every block, we believe, me and Joseph started our relationship talking about block security during the riots. We need at least one person on every block to agree to just be in connection with each other all over the city. We have to have this citywide connectivity. So anyone that's on the block that's watching, that's viewing this, 312-405-8844. That's direct. Text me right there, 312-405-8844. I can put you in touch with our experts here. And the most important thing is to make sure block by block that we're in touch with each other.
And so that's what that crime agitator would do. It would connect everybody block by block.
And now you didn't tell me, like, how do we support that? Is it monetary at all? We got to pay for it?
No, it's free for right now. It's free.
So we need to do some campaigns to promote that. This month we on tour in North Lawndale. So like when we leave North Lawndale at the end of this month, all of North Lawndale should know about it. Next month we in Marquette Park. So that tour every month is a good way to make sure they leave knowing about Crime Agitators app.
Yes.
You got flyers for it, Richard?
Yes, I do.
I need to get them, man, so we can push them.
I'm gonna send you also the link to the website where it tells you, gives the explanation, directs you to where you can download it and all that stuff.
I salute you guys. Every second Monday, we're going to have this safety conversation. I'm going to document all of this, and hopefully you guys will be willing to come back. I'm going to try to get different voices on there, but I want to make sure we stay connected with you guys.
All right, definitely.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lef. Take care, guys.